there's nothing I cannot do from that point onwards. And that kind of led to this foray of whatever I want to do. I understand that I can do it as long as I put the hard work, dedication. I kind of created a formula of how I do this. And that led me to playing ice hockey. That led me to, breakdancing, to business, to being a podcast host. It was the same principle of you're going to be terrible at it first. And that's also okay. You either win or you learn, which everyone's sort of heard before.
Hey guys, welcome to Keep On Pushing Stories, where we tell you, yeah man, real life stories of motivation and inspiration to hopefully inspire you to live your absolute best life. And in this segment, I'm so excited to welcome Chris Rainey. Chris, welcome, bro.
How's it going, Devon? Nice to see you. It's the first time I've been on someone else's podcast, so
Oh, wow, you know what?
Great day for me.
I'm honored. I'm honored. But there's always
couldn't say no to you, of all people. After 300 episodes of doing my own podcast, when you said come and join me for the small segment, I was like, I cannot say no. So here we are.
I'm sure you've never been hit by a bobsled, so
Yeah, I've been hit by an ice hockey puck in the head. So that was painful enough. To be honest,
dude, you live a way too dangerous life for me.
I know. Well, you can't say that as a former bobsled athlete. I think you live probably the most dangerous life.
Well, I have a screw or two missing, so what can I say? It just looks way more dangerous sounds way more dangerous getting hit in the head by a ice hockey puck. But hey, it's all good, man. Thank you for joining. Tell me, tell my audience, what is it that you do, Chris, and how do you serve? How do you bring value to?
How do I bring value? Right. So I basically host events, workshops, webinars, both face-to-face and virtual, all around the future of work. So working with companies, talking about how to attract, retain, and develop talent in organizations, and create a culture of well-being in their business. So now more than ever, as you can imagine, it's been significantly disrupted. But my goal is to, for our podcasts and our workshops, is to really impact millions of employees around the world and help create a better, work-life experience for them, which is now one in the same, because we work where we live and we live where we work. So it's definitely changed. So that's definitely, I didn't plan on doing this. I grew up playing ice hockey and skateboarding and as a professional, and also a professional breakdancer, but somehow I found my way into this world of work. So yeah, love what I do, and getting up in the morning every day, understanding that the work that we do can impact people's lives all around the world is something, that's where I get my energy from.
Yeah, and indeed. So yeah, creating well-being in the workplace sounds like a virtuous thing, with deep meaning, deep purpose. How does someone find you if they needed to tap into your events and learn from your
HR leaders, any platform, where it's YouTube, LinkedIn, anywhere you want to go, type in HR leaders podcast or just HR leaders and you'll find us. Our website is hrdleaders.com. So you can find out more there.
Cool. HR leaders, my man. All right. So now we know that you're a former professional break dancer of all things.
You make me do some moves on the video. Is that what's going to happen right now?
Well, perhaps not. But what we really want to see or hear from you is your keep on pushing story. We want to hear of a time when you had to overcome something, significant, or you had to stretch yourself out of your comfort zone to go achieve. So please do tell us that.
Yeah. This was a tough question when you first mentioned it, because it kind of makes you think back to some of those places you don't really want to go, right? And that's, by nature, part of those moments. Or sometimes you do want to go, but depending. So for me, I feel like this is a really defining moment in my life, which kind of led me to any of the success I have now was from that moment. So as a kid, as a teenager, I was very badly bullied, and it kind of took a toll on me to the point where I didn't want to be alive. I was kind of having really bad thoughts. I was in a bad place. There was, I had anxiety attacks, depression. There was weeks where I couldn't even leave the house because every time I walked out the door, I'd have, the sensation of having a heart attack because I just didn't want to go to school because I was, bullied and, robbed on a weekly basis. It was a bad time.
Mm.
adding into the fact that I grew up in, you know, in the UK, an area which had the highest crime rate. We had police officers that worked in the school, just to give context of how bad it was. It was not a great place to be. And I got to a point in my life where I was like, I can either, how am I going to, I kind of sat down and it sounds pretty weird as a 13-year-old to have this conversation with yourself, but I did. I was like, am I going to continue this way, or am I going to create a plan where I can get myself out of this situation that I'm in? And I came up with this crazy elaborate plan that, how do I stop being bullied? And I wrote it down. Like, I even have the notes. I wish I would have brought on the show of like how to stop being, everything resolved from being bullied, right? So how do I stop doing that? And I came up with this crazy idea that if I became a really successful athlete, that none of the bullies would bully me anymore and they'll leave me alone, right? And keeping in mind, I'd never played a sport at this point, and I was very kind of small and weak and the opposite of an athlete. But
That's a tall order then.
as a tall order, literally. So I chose basketball because that's where, our school was very well known for basketball. And I'd never picked up a basketball before, but I spent the entire summer holidays. I kind of begged my mum for a basketball hoop. And that was quite tough. She's a single parent with 4 kids. So then spending this extra money on this basketball and this hoop was, it was a lot of money. So luckily she bought me one. And I spent the entire summer holidays, I'm talking about every day from when the sun rised, so when the sun went down, just shooting that hoop constantly, like literally all day, all night. My friends, family, even my co-founders' parents even tell me the story about how I used to drive them crazy with bouncing the ball all day, all night along. And I got back to school, and I went to the tryouts, which was kind of like entering the Dragon's Den because every single bullied played for the team.
Mm-hmm.
So walking into that changing room was, they threw my bag in the shower room, where it was crazy, right? To even walk in there, like, what are you doing here? And long story short, I made the team, and actually went on to become the most successful player they've ever had. And from that moment, and this is kind of what stuck with me for my whole career, I realized I can do anything. There's nothing I cannot do from that point onwards. And that kind of led to this foray of whatever I want to do. I understand that I can do it as long as I put the hard work, dedication. I kind of created a formula of how I do this. And that led me to playing ice hockey. That led me to, breakdancing, to business, to being a podcast host. It was the same principle of, you're going to be terrible at it first. And
Yeah.
that's also okay. You either win or you learn, which everyone's sort of heard before. And then, a lot of my friends and family always say, oh, you're so annoying, Chris, you're great at everything. But that's not the case. I'm not. I'm just willing to be terrible at it for a long enough period until I become good at something. And that moment transformed my life. I still suffer from anxiety now, and I see someone for that on every few weeks. It's still with me, so by no means is that gone. But that was a moment that I remember very, very vividly in my mind, of making that decision with myself of, I'm either going to be a victim, or I'm going to, take control of it myself and try and get out of it. So yeah, and that hoop, by the way, is still on the side of my parents' house. It's all bent and all mangled, but whenever I walk past it, whenever I go to see my parents, I take a moment to look at that hoop on the side of that house, and it's all bent and just weathered. But that changed my life, that hoop, because I don't know what I would have done. So yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, no, it's an
Crazy as that
incredible
sounds, I
story.
hope that made any sense to anyone
No,
listening.
dude, on so many different levels, man. And I'm trying to, like, so usually I ask, so what lesson did you learn from it? But I'm hearing all the lessons oozing out. What do you say is the most powerful lesson? Is it the one of confidence, or one of just the knowledge that if you put your mind to something, you can do it? Oh,
Yeah,
what is
that one, to be honest, like, from that moment, what I took away from it is that it sounds, you've heard people say, "Well, I could do anything." Like, if I could pick up a sport I've never played before, never done anything, I could do anything from that point. And whatever it was, whether it was business, whether it was sales, whether it was marketing, whether it was podcast, whether it was building computers, whatever it was, I understood there was a process of how I can go from being very bad at something to very good. I knew in sales, the more I learned, the more I earned. I could see a direct correlation to the more I consumed content and read books and listened to podcasts, it reflected in my salary, in my paycheck, and in the month, right? And it was the same with everything else. So it was super empowering to reach a point where I didn't feel helpless. I think up until that point, I just felt helpless in life, that there was no control. Whereas now my hobby is learning. That's my hobby. I just love, what do you do? I try and, for example, I try every year to challenge myself at something new. So this year it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm getting beaten up every day in class, and I'm terrible. I'm the white belt, I'm the guy that everyone just uses as a rag doll. But I'm so excited about that, at being terrible. I'm really excited at being really bad at something. And what I'm not worried about the end goal. I'm excited about the journey and seeing the progress. And the first few weeks of anything is terrible, right? It's like when you first go to the gym, you feel horrible, you're sore, but then the more you go, the stronger you get. You don't feel pain anymore, and you get the progress. Most people, Devon, don't get past that initial first few weeks or months. They give up before that. And that's where the keep on pushing comes into the equation, why I love that saying that you have, is that's exactly what it is. Most people you ask, my wife, I always get frustrated by this. She will know. I say, why don't you do that? I'm not good at it. I'm like, how long did you try it for? I tried it once. Well, of course you're not good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
You did it once. What do you expect?
Yeah.
It's like when I skateboarded, it took me, 1,000 attempts before I landed that one trick. And I realized the same thing when I went into business, that, when I got into sales, I got 100 no's before I got a yes. But for me, that was fine, because I was used to failing forward and understanding that you need to go through all of those no's in order to get that yes. Directly the same way analogy of the skateboarding I took into business. I know I have to take 1,000 attempts before I land that trick. I know I need to have 1,000 phone calls before I get that first client. So it kind of that's the overall theme throughout my life. Same with this podcast, right? A lot of people see the success of the podcast I run. We know we have hundreds of thousands of listeners. What they don't see is the first year where we had 10 people listening and that we had hundreds of people that would reply back saying, no, Chris, I'm not coming on your show. You don't have a big enough audience. And most people give up at that point and they never even push forward. Whereas if you continue to do something and you're passionate about it, the results will come. You cannot always focus on the end goal. It has to be focusing on day by day, step by step, and to where you want to get to.
Indeed. Well, really powerful lessons there, man. And I thank you for really reinforcing, some of the things that I talk about all the time. That when you first start, you suck, basically. But if you keep at it, you're gonna get better. It does take time. It does take effort. You have to keep on pushing through the sucky points to develop a level of competence that then grows our confidence. And if it applies to a 13-year-old picking up a basketball for the first time, it can apply to a 30-year-old starting anything for the first time, all of us. So thank you so much, Chris. Really powerful story and indelible lessons.
Thanks for having me. It means a lot to speak to you and to share this with anyone. Hopefully it can help anyone. If it helps even one or two people listening, it's worth it as well. And I just want to say thank you to you for all the work that you do, Devon, to help everyone. It's always inspiring as well. And despite the fact we've only known each other for a few months, you definitely reminded me to keep on pushing. So I appreciate that.
Indeed. All right. Awesome. Thank you for that, my man. Hey, guys, if you enjoyed this, if you found value in it, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit that subscription button, as well as a notification bell. You'll get a notification every single time we post one of these amazing videos. And just as importantly, don't forget to share it, because your friends want to be inspired as well. In fact, if you visit my website, devonharris.com, and sign up for our newsletter, this will come straight to your inbox. Until we connect next time, man, keep on pushing.